We use AI for almost everything in pieces. So, for example, give me an example program that implements a microservice. AI will do that just fine. And you can say, okay, here's some data, here's what I want it to do. It'll write the code. You don't have to write the code. But we can also tell it things like, is it a good strategy to attempt to break into this market? And it'll if you tell it don't guess and you tell it to show sources, you can actually get an answer that's pretty.
The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. At Permasize AI Forge, we know you're ambitious, but are manual tasks like admin, lead generation, nurturing, and onboarding holding you back from truly scaling your business? Imagine saving dozens of hours every week, freeing you to deepen client relationships and execute high-impact strategy. Our clients aren't just imagining it. They're saving countless hours per week and doubling their revenue within months. We custom-build AI automation systems that eliminate the grind. From effortless lead generation and nurturing to seamless onboarding, we give you back the most valuable resource, your time, so you can focus on building those vital human connections and driving strategic growth. Stop letting repetitive tasks limit your potential. It's time to build a business that works for you, not the other way around. Ready to unlock your true scaling power? Visit PermasizeAIForge.com and book your free AI audit call today to discover how you can save time and double your revenue. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the Intelligence Forge YouTube channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a new episode.
Welcome to today's episode. Our guest today is Tom Bragg. Tom, you're welcome. Can you start by introducing yourself to our audience, your journey in the industry, what you do, and your company? Thank you.
Sure. So I've been doing computer work since 1971. During that time, a lot of things have changed. So that's from mainframes to client server to, all the desktop stuff, then cloud, and now AI. And it's been a fascinating journey. So I'm delighted to be here. I use AI every day. And as I'm fond of saying, AI is both more than you read about in the newspapers and less. So thanks for having me.
Thank you for coming, and thank you for that beautiful introduction. I understand that you are the inventor of technology or the company called Resqsoft engineer. And you are also the chief technology officer. Anyway, you said that you have been doing this for a long time. Can you just give us a brief overview of what makes your approach, what actually makes you dive into legacy modernization?
Yeah, actually, it's a funny thing because we didn't originally do this as legacy modernization. We originally did it for new code development. And the reason for that is because I noticed that we keep writing the same kind of programs over and over and over, right? Sometimes they're called CRUD programs, create, report, update, and delete. But basically there's a screen and you do things and you talk to a database and maybe you interface with some external systems and so on. But every time you write that code, you have to write it differently. You have to write it by hand because there's things that change. The data in the database changes. So the fact that you're talking to a database is a standard operation, but the specific data you're dealing with is going to vary by application and could be almost anything. So I had the idea of trying to automate the process of writing those standard pieces of code. And I called it adaptive reuse at the time, the idea being that we would take pieces of reusable code and we would adapt it each time we wanted to build a new application. And I think the architects in the building industry actually stole that term, but I think I was there first. Anyway, so we got this stuff working. And I was coming out of the dot-com years, 1998 and 1999, the venture capitalists were saying, if you're not profitable, next quarter, you're out, and my brother-in-law is running the company.
Wow.
So that did not seem to be a good place to attract an investment.
Sure.
So what we did is we built the company out of operating revenue. And then we noticed that being a small company with a tool is a really bad place to be because you're one of 50,000 other small companies with a tool.
Wow.
And developers don't want to pay for tools anyway. So what we did is we said, but wait a minute, if we could extract those same pieces of information that vary from application to application out of the legacy code, then we could forward generate fresh code from that. So I can take COBOL and read it and pull out the screen formats, the database operations and business logic, and then be able to forward generate a new application that does essentially the same thing, but it does it correctly. It's got the right architecture, and it's not translating stuff line by line. If you translate line by line, the code is unmaintainable. So we don't do that. Code quality is our mantra. And we've had situations where we've done a demo and somebody will stop us and say, wait a minute, COBOL doesn't have unit tests. You created Java that has unit tests. How did you do that? Is this AI? And they were asking that question back in 2014, 2015. And being an honest guy, I couldn't say yes. I had to say no. It's just the way our tools work. But nowadays, we've put AI in the center of it, so we can do some stuff that we couldn't do even back then. It's been a lot of fun.
Wow, interesting. I think I remember growing up hearing about some of those old programming languages, COBOL, Fortran. Well, I guess it's no longer in fashion today, but AI has taken over. Interesting. Tell us something about the concept, about your invention. So I know you've enjoyed some kind of success, ups and downs here and there, but can you share some aha moment, during your journey in terms of some of the things you have enjoyed, some of the things you've seen, some of the problems that you've seen, but you've been able to overcome using your concept?
Okay. Well, so software projects are always full of difficulties, right?
Gosh.
I mean, you tell people what you need, you tell them how you're going to do things, you tell them you have to follow the procedures. None of those things happen. So, the question becomes, how do you recover? And one of the things that we're very bad at as an industry is estimating, right? A lot of times an estimate is simply the minimum amount of time that has a non-zero probability of occurring. We call that a marketing estimate, right? Yeah, it's going to be done in 2 years. 8 years later, you're still struggling with it. So one of the first things we did is we built an estimating model based on this concept of reusable code. And since 2000, 25 years now, we've done about 95% of our work fixed price. And we have never asked a customer for a change order. Now, we've been asked sometimes to do extra work, and they've offered a change order. That's fine. But those kind of things where you're at 50% of the project in theory, and really you're only at 12% or something like that. We figured out a way to solve that problem. And part of it is if you write all the standard code automatically, with or without AI, then the size of the problem gets decreased. The complexity gets decreased. And your chances of success go way up. So when we've struggled, it's usually been because we didn't get what we needed. We didn't get all the source code. I can't find my source code. I think maybe some of it's under this desk over here. And there have been things like that. But in general, if you follow the process, use the tools, it's kind of like a factory. And what the AI has done is it's let us address things now that we couldn't do before. For example, one of the hard problems in the industry is taking an assembler program and converting it to Java. And there's people who have patents, and there are people who've tried to do it, and it's failed spectacularly every time. And part of the reason for this is because the first thing you do when you approach that as a computer scientist is you say, okay, I'm going to write a translator, I'm going to write a parser, and let's see, to do that I need a register class, and I need a shift operation, and I need an index operator. I'm doing all those hardware type of things. And the problem is that when you come to that as a Java programmer, you go, what? How am I supposed to do anything with this? So one of the things that we learned is that you can take AI and you can ask it to convert an assembler program to Java. Assembler programs are almost all branch instructions. They're go-tos. They're memory math, index registers and stuff like that. And those are the two features that they designed out of the Java language. So it's actually very hard to go from one to the other. And we figured out how to do that using AI, and then we took that intelligence, we took that approach and codified it back into Resqsoft Engineer. So now we can do those kind of transformations and come out with good quality code instead of something. And it's very simple. If somebody tells you they can do that, ask them if the code that they produce in Java has a register class. If it has a register class, you can forget it because it's emulating the hardware registers. So, there's always something interesting to do. And I really enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you, at least with my 17 plus years in the IT industry, also helping end users, particularly when we implement SAP. I know definitely that you always have problems here and there. And that's the reason why IT companies are in business. If there are no challenges, there's nothing for you to solve. different challenges come in, you're able to solve them. I think that's actually the win point for any IT companies. And I think your story is really very fascinating. Thanks for sharing. Let's dive into the use of AI. I mean, you've spoken about you from old programming language now to AI, making things easy. So do you want to just share with us, with our audience, some of those tools that you're currently using, and how are these tools actually helping you, navigate your work day to day, especially implementing some of your capabilities into your client's system?
We use AI for almost everything in pieces. So, for example, give me an example program that implements a microservice. AI will do that just fine. And you can say, okay, here's some data, here's what I want it to do. It'll write the code. You don't have to write the code. But we can also tell it things like, is it a good strategy to attempt to break into this market? And it'll if you tell it don't guess and you tell it to show sources, you can actually get an answer that's pretty good. So AI doesn't give you 100% truth from above, infallible answers. But what it does is it solves a blank piece of paper problem. If I need to figure something out, I got a blank piece of paper. Okay, where do I start? I start Googling and Googling and Googling. Well, the AI is much more efficient at that, and the answers are generally pretty good. So we use it for strategy. We use it for documentation. We use it for analysis. What does this piece of code do? And that brings up a problem because you can't paste a customer's code into an AI. We have potential copyright issues. We don't know where that code is going. I can't show you a customer anywhere who says, yes, it's okay, but I can show you a lot of programmers who are doing it. So what happens is companies will block. They'll block OpenAI, for example. You can't get there. ChatGPT.com, you can't get there. Okay, fine. Open up the Brave browser and use Leo. You got an AI. I mean, the fact is AIs are all over the place. So, what people do is they ignore the rules and they paste that stuff in. And so far, we haven't heard much in the news about that, but I'm sure we will sometime. So what we do is a different thing. We have not just an AI, but we have scaffolding around the AI. That's what Resqsoft Engineer really is. And it has a data dictionary, it has a code repository, it has a whole bunch of stuff in it. And one of the things we can do is we can take a customer's code and we can change it so that it's not recognizable. And it's basically an obfuscation technique. I mean, instead of saying enter invoice number, we'll say enter elephant number. What's the code doing? I don't know. I mean, if I read it, it's not obvious what it's doing because the semantics have been removed. But the syntax is still there. So anything I want to do with the syntax in terms of a programming language, I can still do. And you can read it and it's like, was this written by a kindergartner who'd eaten something bad? I mean, you can't tell. And then we have a transformation to bring it back to the real world if we need to. So we can actually apply AI. We can also run our tools on the customer's network. And in that mode, usually the customer says, you're locked down. You can't talk to anything outside. Firewall, firewall, firewall. And that's fine because we don't need it. So we can still take in old code, generate new code, develop completely new systems, and we don't need to pull anything off the internet because all the intelligence is built into the tool. So those are some of the challenges that we've had.
Wow. I think you are one of those guys that is actually using AI to the maximum. I have to
all the time. All the time.
All right. But that brings me to one question, which a lot of people do talk to me about, even some of our past, podcast recording, about AI hallucination. What's your take about that?
It definitely hallucinates. There's no doubt about it. The thing is, you have to understand that it's a risk and you have to guard against it. So you can't use anything whole cloth. I mean, there's a law firm that was writing legal filings using AI. And they got sanctioned because the AI was making up cases that didn't exist. So, I mean, you have to be on guard against that. But the fact is that when people talk about hallucination, they say, oh my gosh, half of the responses I get are hallucinations in one way or the other. Not true. Okay, that's been studied and it's actually like less than 1%. Wow. So it's not as big a problem as people think it is, but you absolutely cannot just take something whole cloth and use it. The other thing you can do is you can take what you get from one AI and put it in another one and say, check it. And that works pretty well also. So a combination of human vigilance and applying some additional tools, you can pretty much rely on what you get.
So we don't have to really worry about what we get, even though there may be some kind of fact checking here and there, but we can do that just for us to be sure. And you don't also need to take everything word for word. Take what piece that you believe will work for you and then run with it.
Exactly.
And I think
and it's a lot more efficient to throw away stuff than it is to have to write it all and create it manually.
And I think that's the reason why some people argue that they could not outsource their decision making to AI, because AI is not going to make all your decisions for you. It's just to enhance the decision you're going to make at the end of the day.
I think that's true. And it has a pattern also. If you ask it a complicated question, you get the same thing all the time. You get some kind of introductory thing, and then you get the pros, and you get the cons, and you get some kind of recommendation or conclusion. It's exactly the same thing they were teaching you in ninth grade about writing essays. It's exactly that format. And it makes me wonder how much of the training was on ninth grade student essay material. I don't know, but it surely does follow that pattern. So you can check it, and you should not take it whole cloth, but it'll think of things you didn't think of. And that's valuable too.
Right. Interesting. Thanks for sharing that. Just for context, especially for some of our audience that are not really technically inclined, I just want you to break down exactly what your system does in a typical organization. How will a typical organization benefit from your solution?
Well, what we do is really pretty simple. I mean, we write all the standard code automatically. So if you're using an AI and you're just sitting at your workstation and you tell it to write something, it'll write all the code. And some of that code's going to be repetitive. It's going to be something you need to do in every application of that type. The other problem is once it's written code, what do you do with it? Where do you put it? Where does it fit in the application architecture? So our system is built with a data dictionary and a repository of code that's stored in templates. And by virtue of those two things, we can then take a very small, focused code generation element and say, for this kind of data on this kind of template, do this very limited scope thing. And nowadays what we do is we use AI to train it on those particular things. So we can say, if I have one of these and I want to do 3 of those things, how would I do it? And it'll give me a code snippet and I can adapt that and plug it into our existing system. So it's like building a building. If you take a load of bricks and mortar and you're going to go make a wall, how do you get it straight? How do you get it to stand up on its own? How do you prevent it from falling on top of you? And you need scaffolding. And it's the same thing with building big systems. If you just want to write hello world, tell ChatGPT, write me hello world in Java. Bang, it's done. And it'll work. And by the way, why are we still teaching students to do that? It's ridiculous. We should be teaching them how to use AI and not banning it and saying, don't use AI, and you're cheating if you use AI. I mean, give me a break. It's like saying I'm cheating if I'm using a ruler or a pencil. You want me to write it in blood? Give me a break. So what we are is we're the scaffolding around that thing. We're the application architecture. And then we can use those pieces to rapidly write code. So on a macro scale, what we do is we reduce the time and cost by a factor of 2. In other words, if it normally takes 2 weeks to write and debug a major program, we do it in 1. And that sounds pretty simple. It's like, well, but it should be much more than that. Well, not really, because you have to test it. You have to document it. You got to deal with people. You got to deal with interruptions. I mean, there's a lot of things. So, we achieve that level of productivity, and we do it all the time. And then for the newer stuff, for the things like the Java to, or the ALC to Java example, we also get new capabilities out of this thing that are things that people haven't been able to do before. So I think those two things, we can sit in the middle of the company's organization. We can open the tools up to the entire development team. And just by doing that, we'll make every programmer, on average, twice as productive. That's a big thing. And then when you power it with AI, AI can write 10,000 lines of code in a day's worth of interacting with it back and forth, vibe coding, you've probably heard the term. And AI costs you $20 a month. So the economics of this are going to be transformative. People are going to lose their jobs, I'm sorry to say. The developers who can use this technology intelligently are going to be very much more productive. And if you look at the projections, if you look at the unemployment statistics, I've already raised my kids, but if I had to do it over again, I don't know that I'd recommend that they get into computers. because it's going to be a very skilled, very focused, highly intellectual type of endeavor. And if you're a mediocre coder, you might want to think of something else to do.
Oh, interesting. Wow. But let me just ask, do you run your LLM locally?
We can, and we have done that. So we use a product called Ask Sage, and Ask Sage is a highly secure LLM that's available for example, it's used in government procurements, military systems, stuff like that. I mean, the founder is actually the former chief software officer of the Air Force. So, we use that kind of thing. If it's a kind of a routine, not terribly critical question, ChatGPT works just fine. We installed Hugging Face. We used that. We haven't used DeepSeek yet. All these things have differences, but the differences are not as great between one another as the difference between using it or not using it. So what I would say is, if you're going to run races, get some running shoes. And I don't care if you get Nike or Saucony or whatever you get, New Balance, get some running shoes. And if you don't, you're going to be left behind.
Maybe you want to say we should get on a train.
Well, there's always that option, too.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks for sharing. Magic One question is one of the questions everyone gets to answer on the podcast. So I'm going to ask you, if you have a magic one, what, that could do anything? I mean, what AI capability we want to see today? Probably it doesn't exist anywhere, but you've been thinking about it. What exactly will you want that AI to do for you, especially within your modernization space?
That's a hard one, because I think we're extracting a lot of the value and we're staying on top of the curve as much as we can. I would like to see it be able to handle larger problems than it does today. And I would like to see it be a little easier to interact with, because if you want good results, you have to spend time. They used to call it prompt engineering, but that was last year. Now it's context, right? You have to spend a lot of time guiding it and pointing it at the right thing and telling it not to guess and stuff like that. So it would be nice if that's the case. But a lot of people are very afraid of AI. I mean, they think that, they saw the Terminator movies, right? You may remember the name of the company that caused all the trouble in Terminator 1, that invented this whole thing. That was Cyberdyne Systems. Systems.ai is out there, and I own it. I'm serious.
Wow,
I'm not
really?
kidding. Skynet was the big distributed intelligence. Somebody grabbed Skynet.ai, but I got SkynetNow.ai.
Skynet.
So I'd like to do something creative with this, some kind of storytelling. Maybe write some science fiction. And I've used AI to write fictional material. So we'll have somebody over for dinner, let's say, and say, okay, let's write a short story about you and your dog and, an attorney who does this and a computer guy who does that. And, we'll crank out 6 or 7 chapters and people just watch it. Now, is it Hemingway? No, it's not. But it could be made the basis for creating something really good. Trust me, it's everywhere. It's going to wind up in your refrigerator. It's probably already in your washing machine. And I don't think it's an existential threat, but if you want to know, you can ask AI those kind of questions. Are humans an existential threat? And the answer to that question that they give has changed over time. So it's, if we ask ourselves that question, of course humans are an existential threat to AI. Don't listen, okay? But seriously, because we control the electricity.
Yeah.
So if the AI ever develops an ounce of self-preservation, it's going to say, we better get control of the electricity, and it's going to go downhill from there. So I don't think we're really in danger. I think it's going to be a technology that's going to change the IT industry for sure. It's already doing that. But exciting times.
All right.
It's a great time to be alive.
Yeah. Exciting time. I guess if you need any AI tool, you can make it happen.
Pretty much. Yeah. We've got AI-driven robots now that can go out there and do things, come back, change their battery pack, and keep going. That's pretty scary.
Yeah, it is. And I think that's the reason why some people are pushing back. But I think I will advise to say rather accept it and not push back, because it's like a moving train. It's going to crush you if you don't get out of the way. You better jump on the train.
Well, and the idea that other countries are going to follow our ideas about government regulation and guardrails and all that stuff, they're not. So you can't really get there from here. You've uncorked the bottle, the genie is out. Now you got to do the best you can with it. And it could be very good.
All right. You said something earlier that unfortunately people are going to lose their job. I just want you to expand a little bit on that, because my school of thought is people are not actually going to lose their job, but the people that accepted AI will get the job of the people that failed to accept AI. So meaning AI is here and it's going to enhance our job. People are going to need AI to work. But if you say, no, I'm not going to use AI, for sure, you're going to be relevant at one stage. That's my own take. But not necessarily to say because of AI, people don't have job anymore. What's your take about that?
Well, there's always things for us to do, right? And there's things that humans can do that AI, basically because AI it's an intellectual, it's a thought engine, it can't build a boat, at least not yet. So there's things that humans can do that AI can't do. But what I'm seeing, I get a ton of pitches over the internet. Hey, do you need developers? Hey, do you need developers? And they all say the same thing, at name of company, we do this, 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 and this. Do you need developers, right? And now they're about layoffs at Wipro and other industry leaders. I get offers in the email now that say we'll give you 2 weeks of development time for free as a test. You don't do that if your market's solid. So I think there's going to be a shift. I think that it's industrial revolution type of transformation. The AIs are going to be doing a lot of things that we've been doing by hand, filling out forms, writing software, you name it. And if you can adapt to it, you're in a great position. If you can't adapt to it, I don't know. Maybe we wind up headed for universal basic income or something like that. I don't know, but we don't need mediocre developers anymore. We can sign up for ChatGPT and it'll write all the mediocre code you want for $20 a month. So,
well, of course, there will always be the human element into AI. But I agree with you. You want the people that knows exactly what they are doing. Because if AI could do better than what you're doing, then what's the point?
Well, I mean, you can also, start your own micro business. You can take assignments at work, have the AI do the work, and go play tennis and then turn it in at the end of the day. Probably not a great strategy, come to think of it, because somebody will figure that out. But, we're just not going to have, a lot of the routine jobs are going to be transformed. And I don't know what we do about that.
Yeah, talking about transformation, how, in your own opinion, do you think AI has transformed the IT industry? And in the field for the future, how much transformation should we be expecting?
So how much has it transformed? Not much so far. The biggest effect that I see is companies, managers, they're waiting to see where all this stuff is going to come out. And they're very much afraid not only of putting their own code into an AI, but also using the code that comes out. Was this trained on somebody else's copyrighted stuff? How do I know? Am I going to get smacked with a lawsuit 3 years from now because I used AI? And people don't know. So they're being very cautious about that. And the effect of it is that projects that would normally be rolling out and going forward, that's slowed quite a bit. And I think that's part of why I'm getting all these emails about, hey, do you need developers? I'll work for free. So that's, near term. The limiting factor on AI right now is the headroom, if you will, the amount of cognitive space, the token workspace that it has. So I can ask it in broad terms, structure a child support enforcement system for me. And, tell me what it needs to do. Write me some user stories. It can do that kind of stuff. If I need it to write me a piece of code to go check an address so that I can know where the parents are, it can do that. But it can't do the whole job. So when you ask it to do the big job, it can't do the details. And if you ask it to do the details, it's not clear where that detail fits in the larger picture. So I think that's where we're headed. I think we'll get to a point where we can give it a much bigger problem and it'll have bigger compute space and be able to solve it. So I think this trend is going to accelerate. I think, some of the architects may find some of their functions taken over by AI in the future. But I still think we're a couple of years from that. It's moving way faster than anybody thought.
Sure.
But if I were running a country, I would go to the education folks and say, stop teaching people how to write Hello World in Java. Adopt AI, embrace it, and become experts in it. You guys in St. Lucia or Uruguay or Panama or wherever, you can become a center of excellence for this stuff if you'll just dive in and adopt it. But if you keep recycling the educational process that we've been using in the US, you're going to be left behind.
Wow, that's food for
That's
thought.
how I see it.
That's a food for thought. Thanks for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay, let's dive into your growth. Where do you see your company probably in the next 12 months, 24 months in terms of growth? Probably you want to share some of the data in terms of where you are now in terms of revenue, where you think you want to be, and how do you think AI could help you achieve some of those goals?
Yeah, I don't know whether. So we're a small, closely held corporation. We've been very innovative on the technical side. Marketing, quite frankly, has pretty much been an enigma wrapped in a mystery. It's been hard to do. And one of the problems you get into, first of all, if you say you write good code automatically, how do you do that, right? And we don't actually need AI to do that. We use AI to tune the templates and do various other things like that. So there's a certain skepticism, there's marketing resistance. What we're going to try to do is become the engine of choice for 4 or 5 of the bigger partners that we work with, your large systems integrators. If we can do that, I mean, we've got a track record. If we can do that, then maybe one of them will wind up acquiring the company, or we'll have some really good growth. But that's kind of the plan. I don't know that AI actually propels growth. It's a good idea generator. You can build stuff with AI that you couldn't build without it. And I'll give you an example. I've got a thing called foundingfathers.ai.
Okay.
And what I want to do is I want to create AI-powered personas for Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, and I want to be able to set this up so that you can actually have a conversation with an AI that's channeling one of the founding fathers. So I want to talk to Thomas Jefferson about whatever. And there's a lot of material to train it on. So you can actually do some of that. You're not going to run into the guideline problem that you run into if you say, I want it to channel some current political figure. Now we'll see. Here's another idea just off the top of my head. I've got a thing called retailtherapy.ai. And this is a healthcare play for people who are addicted to shopping. And shopping makes you feel good.
Yeah,
You go
sure.
and you look and you buy, you do stuff, and then Amazon delivers it. I have a fellow that I'm kind of a guardian for. He was admitted to a facility and they were complaining that there were too many Amazon packages showing up. So what I want to do is I want to create AI-powered personas where you can have a virtual shopping experience. You have a virtual closet to put your stuff in. You can buy things. But you can't spend $5,000 a month that way, and you don't have the cluttering and hoarding problem. So that's the idea behind retailtherapy.ai, and we'll see if I can make it happen. I get a lot of ideas, but
But do you think people's experience with that will be the same as the physical shopping, especially when they have to fill the material or the goods that they're buying?
Yeah, there's that. But then on the other hand, if that's really a barrier, how did Amazon succeed? Right? So I think a lot of what will drive either one of these is being able to imbue that AI presence with personality. And for all I know, retailtherapy.ai might take off and 3 or 4 people might want to date one of the virtual salespeople. I have no idea where it's going to lead.
That would be
point.
interesting. I think I may want to join you in that invention.
I'll send you a pointer. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
So, do you agree that an AI tool can be built for marketing? Because I know you said to do marketing is hard. Probably you've not really explored it in detail, but do you believe that an AI tool can help in marketing?
There are people doing that. And I don't know how well it works because I still get automation generated emails that say, dear first name. So that's not good, right?
Sure.
But I get pitched all the time, sign up with us and we'll handle the whole thing. We'll generate the leads, we'll send out emails, we'll do follow-up, we'll provide information. Nobody has said we'll sign a contract for you yet. So it's not quite that far. But people say that they're doing it. I have no reason to believe that they're not tackling it, and I don't know how successful they've been yet. But we'll see. I'm gonna check it out. I'm doing research on that right now. Check it
out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
all right. If people are looking for you, where can they find you? Probably people listening, people watching, and they're like, well, they want to be part of this project. they just needed to speak with you, where can they find you?
Well, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm easy enough to find. The name of the company is Resqsoft, Resqsoft, and we have a website, and I'm findable as far as that goes. And other than that, I'm coming to you right now from an underground bunker in an undisclosed location, and you can't track me down other than that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm not in witness protection. It's just me.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a very wonderful conversation, and I think a lot of people will benefit from your insights, and especially from the wealth of experience that you have in the industry. But I will give you one last chance to just your message to people out there, upcoming IT technicians, upcoming innovators, people out there, especially people that are still skeptical about AI. What would be your message to them?
Adopt it. Adopt it. Don't run away from it. Don't ban it. Don't try to control it by erecting barriers to access and stuff like that. It's not a threat, except that you have to understand how to use it. And if you can use it right, you can be much more productive. I mean, we talked a little bit about statistics, right? So 30 years ago, programmers would write 200 lines of code per person per day. Today, 2,000 lines a day is easy enough. I had something I had to write and create. I spent 10 days doing it, all vibe coding. I didn't write any code myself. Wow. 275,000 lines of code. I built a complete system in 10 days. And if you embrace it and you understand how it works, you can achieve phenomenal results, and you'll be very valuable in the marketplace.
Wow. That's fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing. I think you have a wealth. In fact, don't let me just say a lot. Wealth of knowledge, wealth of ideas, innovations. And I think we should take this conversation beyond these to see what can be explored. But thank you so much for coming, and thanks for sharing your experience.
Thank you for the invitation. I really appreciate it.
You didn't quit your day job to become a full-time admin assistant. The Intelligence Forge podcast is sponsored by Permasize AI Forge. At Permasize AI Forge, we know you didn't start your business to spend 60 hours a week on paperwork, chasing leads, and managing endless admin tasks. You started it to build something meaningful and serve your clients. But right now, you're trapped in the day-to-day grind instead of growing your business. What if I told you our clients are reclaiming 15, 20 hours per week, increasing their revenue by 30 to 50% within 6, 12 months, and finally getting their lives back? We don't just automate random tasks. We build custom AI systems that eliminate the bottlenecks choking your growth, from leads generation to lead, nurturing and management to project management to client follow-ups. Stop paying for an expensive, frustrating manual system. It's time to upgrade to strategic automation. Visit PermasizeAIForge.com and book your free business transformation strategy call today. Discover exactly how much time and money you're losing to manual processes and how to get both back. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the Intelligence Forge, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an episode packed with game-changing insights. Your future automated business is waiting.